اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. خل المقادير تمضي لا تغالبها، فإن من غالب الأقدار مغلوب. إن القضاء لسيف لا يقاومه شيء من الخلق إلا وهو محبوب. وامشي رويدا مع الأقدار في مهل، فإن من يكره الأقدار متعوب. سلم وفوض لحكم الله محتسبا، فإنما الأمر مقضي ومكتوب. والله يقضي بما شاء وكيف يشاء، والعبد عبد ومخلوق ومربوب. ولم يزل ربه الرحمن يكلأه باللطف والحفظ محفوف ومصحوب. حسن ظنونك بالرب الكريم، ولا تسيء ظنا فتبقى عنه محجوب. واعمل لنفسك أعمالا تسر بها، فكل ما يفعل الإنسان محسوب. إن كان فخير سوف يحصده، أو كان شرا فتنكيل وتعذيب. يا ويل من ضيع الأعمار في زلل، وكل من كسبه الآثام والحوب. واطلب علوما مع إقبال مع عمل، فأنت بالعلم والأعمال مطلوب. واحذر زمانك هذا إنه زمان به المناكير شاعت والمعايب. فكن وحيدا فريدا خاملا حذرا، فإن فيه الأقاويل الأكاذيب. والظلم فاش بلا لوم ولا نكر، وللمساكين تخويف وترهيب. فكن لبيتك حلسا لا تفارقه، إلا لشيء له في الشرع تصويب. واذكر إلهك ذكرا دائما أبدا، فالذكر بالذكر مقرون ومصحوب. وذاكر الله يجالسه، فاجلس مع الله.
Testing, test, mic test.
المواهب، واطلب من الله ما تحتاج أجمعه، فالخير يا ذا لديه والمطالب. لا تسأل الله كريم الوجه خالقنا، فعنده الفضل والإحسان مسكوب. واعكف على بابه في كل ما نفس، فإن نسيانه يا صاحبي حوب.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue with our lesson in Adab Sulukil Murid and Muqaddimah hadramiyyah, and we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with tawfiq and hidayah, and may Allah make this session a reason anywhere our sins and are forgiven, where our prayers and are answered, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and with iman and taqwa, and protect us from all difficulties, trials and tribulations in dunya and akhirah. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. So in the Adab Suluk al-Murid of Imam al-Haddad, we are in chapter 16, where the author speaks about the issue of mukashafa and karamah. So we have mentioned this last week in the introduction of this chapter. Basically, Imam al-Haddad mentioned that mukashafa, that is revealings and miracles, these are tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that a seeker to Allah should not be deluded if Allah bless him with such miracles or such openings. So this is the first thing that he mentioned, where he said one of the most harmful things to the seeker is asking for kashf, yani a person obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of asking for miracles. So this is not the way in the path of the seeker to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But miracles are gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not something that a seeker should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or he's longing for it, like miracles and extraordinary happenings, event out of the ordinary. This will never appear before him as long as he lusts for their appearance. So it will not be given if a person wants them, or wants make his objective to attain those miracles. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the saints with miracles, and that's what we know, and that's what we mentioned last week. But these are, again, as what I mentioned, these are gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a form of bestowment, as a fadl, as a bestowment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We find in the Quran, for example, there are many stories in the Quran that Allah speaks about the karamatul awliya, the saints of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, we have Ashabul Kafi, the dwellers of the cave, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned وَإِذِ اعْتَزَلْتُمُوهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ فَأْوُوا إِلَى الْكَهْفِ يَنْشُرْ لَكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ وَيُهَيِّئْ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَمْرِكُمْ مِرْفَقًا وَتَرَى الشَّمْسَ إِذَا طَلَعَتْ تَزَاوَرُ عَنْ كَهْفِهِمْ ذَاتَ الْيَمِينِ وَإِذَا غَرَبَتْ تَقْرِضُهُمْ ذَاتَ الشِّمَالِ وَهُمْ فِي فَجْوَةٍ مِّنْهُ. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking about miracles, how the sunlight did not affect them while they are sleeping for 309 years. So this is a miracle. And how can a person sleep for 309 years? And certainly the earth will eat him up without eating and without drinking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that Allah protect them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect them. So these are examples of miracles of the saints. For the dwellers of the cave, they are not prophets or messengers. So when we speak about miracles, we speak about miracles of the saints and people who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Miracles that comes from the prophets and messengers, these are the mu'jizat. These are the mu'jizat, the prophetic and miracles. So there is a difference between prophetic and miracles and miracles from non-prophets. So here Imam al-Haddad is speaking about miracles from non-prophets, and they are basically the saints. When it comes to kashf, basically it is knowledge that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah bless people who have taqwa. And this is based on the verse in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned wattaqullah wa yu'allimukumullah, have taqwa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will teach you. So the knowledge that a person attain by having taqwa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will bless him knowledge from something that he does not perceive. So this is also is termed as ilmul ladunni, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as what Allah mentioned pertaining to Khalid alayhi salam, when Allah said min ladunna ilma, that Allah blessed this particular person knowledge from him, he attained direct knowledge that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why our scholars mentioned there is knowledge that comes from the books, and there is knowledge that comes direct as an inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as ilham. as an inspiration. So this is the meaning of mukashafa, yani revealings, yani something that you are able to see that is revealed to you, and this is from the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, then we go on to the second paragraph. So he mentioned at times these things can occur to those who are deceived to make them even more entangled, and test or tribulation to the weak in belief amongst the believers. In this context, these things are to debase rather than honor. They will be considered a miracle karama from Allah only if they appear on those who are steadfast. So here Imam al-Haddad is speaking about the meaning of karama. So we have to understand when we speak about miracles, when we speak about karama is a result of istiqamah. When a person has istiqamah in amal, taqwa to Allah, iman, yaqeen, Allah bless with miracles. Tamam? So this miracles comes as a form of a gift to a person who obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if miracles comes from the transgressors, for example, you have people who are committing ma'siyah, not performing the prayers, drinking liquor, doing zina, na'uzubillah min zalik, but yet there are miracles that comes from there, and this is possible. This is possible. So that kind of miracles is called istidraj, and we have another term in the Quran, and Allah mentioned وَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ min haythu la ya'lamun wa umli lahum inna kaydi matin. We will do istidraj. Istidraj a person is given ni'mah, is given from outwardly is like a bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At times it comes in the form of miracles. So it is possible that Allah can give any miracles to even the non-believers, or even to people who disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, transgressors, the fasikin, so on and so forth. But this is not karama. This is istidraj. And istidraj in reality outwardly it looks as though these people are blessed with such miracles, but in reality these are the tests for them. That when a person is given any miracles he thought that he is on the straight path, but it makes him further and further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he will be deluded into his situation, into thinking that he is someone in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or someone who is right in his spiritual path, and so on and so forth. So that is a form of istidraj. So here Imam al-Haddad is saying that you have to look at the person who gets the miracle, whether that particular person obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he is a person who obeys Allah, and he has continuity, istiqamah, in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then only we consider this to be a karama. This is a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the form of miracles. But if a person disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not performing any of the obligations, but yet he is able to perform miracles, now this is not karama, this is istidraj, and that's what we mentioned. So we have to differentiate between between the two. So we should not be deluded by only have miracles, but we should look at the perspective of istiqamah. That is why Al-Imam Fudail ibn Iyad, from scholars of the Salaf, in the first 300 years of Hijrah, the blessed time, he said that, for example, in his famous saying, he said that I am not shocked if I see a person is able to dive into the ocean or to fly in the air, but I am amazed at the person who has istiqamah. And then he has this famous saying, al-istiqamatu afdalul karama, that having steadfastness, this is what Imam al-Haddad mentioned, steadfastness, having istiqamah, continuity in worship, in obedience to Allah, in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, refraining from the prohibitions. This is better than having any miracles, because this is the greatest miracle. This is the greatest miracle that makes a person close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas any miracles are tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to a particular servant. So we should not make miracles as our objective, but we should make istiqamah in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and attaining the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as our objective. So here Al-Imam al-Haddad is directing us so that we do not fall into this trap where some people fell and then become misguided because of that situation. There is also what our scholars also mentioned, and there is something that is called ihana. ihana. These are miracles. These are not miracles. These are the opposite of miracles. So let me give you an example. An example of ihana. Musaylim al-Kadhab, for example, when he claimed that he was the prophet, so some of his followers asked him, Ya Musaylama, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is known that he has a lot of miracles. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has a lot of miracles. One of the miracles is that when he spat into a well where there is little water, suddenly the water comes up. So they asked Musaylama, is there any miracles that you can show us? So Musaylama said yes. So there was a well, there was water in the well, so he spat inside. So what happens was the well became dry. Yeah, it became worse. So this is called ihana. Yani this is the opposite of miracles. This is the opposite of miracles. Yani instead of bringing something that is of benefit, but it becomes worse. A person have some problem in his eyes, so asking him for to read something so that he can become blind, he can see again, so that it's not affected by this sore eyes. So what he did was he read something and he blew and the man he became blind. So this is an example of ihana. So there is karama, there is istidraj, there is ihana, and the last we have the mu'jizat. Mu'jizat it comes from prophets and messengers. Miracles that comes from prophets and messengers are called mu'jizat. So he mentioned after that, O dear seeker, if indeed Allah should honor you by presenting such great honorable events, then praise and thank Him. And he said that if Allah bless you with such things such openings, such miracles, then praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but do not be deluded by your situation, but always observe istiqamah in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he mentioned you should not stop from worship. You should not stop from ibadah or not dwell on them and became overconfident. Now this is the danger Imam al-Haddad he's saying that when people are blessed with miracles, sometimes they became overconfident, that they thought that they have reached a certain level of sainthood, that they now they become slack and they leave some obligations and so on and so forth. This can lead people to astray if they are not aware about such dangers. Keep them hidden and do not mention them to other people. So this is a secret. The real wali awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the real saints of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they do not like to be known. They do not like even their miracles to be known, and they are afraid of fitna. So this is the real people who understood the reality of this situation. So a person must hide them. If none appears to you, do not wish for them. If none appears to you, do not wish for them, nor grieve for their absence, even though you work hard in your deeds and worship. So do not make having miracles as our objective in ibadah. That will turn us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the thing I would like to say, that there are people in our society that have such misunderstanding. So we have to look at the situation properly. You have people out there, they claim that they study tasawwuf and they claim that they have reached a level of spirituality and so on and so forth, and they always spend their time speaking about miracles and miracles and miracles, and they thought knowledge of tasawwuf is only about miracles. So this is another thing that we have to rectify. We have to put perspective in its place, and at the same time also we do not deny that there are miracles, that Allah bless His awliya with miracles, and so many of the miracles are seen by thousands of people living today. Even today, so many of the blessed scholars, blessed of our scholars, people who are with them witness their miracles by their senses by themselves. So it is important for us to have such understanding about certain things that is related to these issues. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us with tawfiq and hidayah. After that, he will speak again about istiqamah, which inshallah we will postpone to next week because of time. And now inshallah ta'ala we will enter into Muqaddimah hadramiyyah. So in Muqaddimah hadramiyyah, we are still speaking on some of the conditions on the validity of prayer. And last week we were speaking about facing the qiblah, and the author speaks about the situation of the traveler. If you are traveling, there are certain concessions. There are certain concessions that are given to the traveler, and one of it is to pray the sunnahs not facing the qiblah. So there are a few situations. Number one situation, number one is the situation that you are riding or on a vehicle. So if you are traveling and you are on a vehicle, then we have to look at the situation. If there is a possibility that you can perform your prayers standing and completing your ruku and sujud properly, then it becomes obligatory for you to pray in such a situation. An example will be, you are boarding a ship. So imagine you are boarding a big ship. So there is no issue in praying while standing. So in this situation, it is not permissible for you to pray while sitting down. If it is possible for you to face the qiblah, then it becomes obligatory for you to face the qiblah. But if you are riding, if you are riding a horse or you are riding a camel, for example, like last time, and you are going to pray the sunnah prayers, and you are musafir, so what you can do is, what is compulsory is that you face the qibla during takbiratul ihram. And when you do Allahu Akbar and it first takbir, you face the qibla. And then after that you can perform your prayers not facing the qibla, facing the road that you are heading to. So for example, the qibla is on my right side, and the road that I'm going is on my at the front of me. So when I do the takbir Allahu Akbar I face on my right, and then after that I go straight. Then I perform my prayers. I recite Fatiha, I recite in the surah. When comes to ruku, I bend. Tamam? I bend a bit. And then when comes to i'tidal, I go back. And when comes to the sujud, I bend more than my ruku. This is called al-ima. So I'm just trying to summarize some of the things that we mentioned. So again, I repeat, situation number one is when a person is praying on a vehicle and he can face the qibla. Then facing qibla becomes compulsory upon him. Tamam? And he can perform his ruku and sujud. Then it becomes compulsory upon him. But if he is riding or he is on a vehicle that he cannot face the qiblas, for example, like nowadays we take our cars, aeroplanes. So for example, the aeroplane is moving in this direction, the qibla is behind. The qibla behind. Tamam? So what we can do is at the point of takbiratul ihram we face the qibla, and then after that we can perform our prayers sitting down, facing in front, as we are sitting on the aeroplane. So this is a concession for the traveler who is praying the sunnah prayer, the sunnah prayer. So the prayer becomes valid even though you do not face the qibla. The prayer becomes valid. So when you pray your duha prayers, when you pray your qabliyah, the ba'diyah, the witr prayers, and so on and so forth. But when comes to the fard prayers, it is compulsory that even for the musafir to pray normally, to face the qibla, to complete his ruku and sujud. So if he is riding for example, it is compulsory for him to come down and to perform the prayers. This is for the fard prayers. If a person is on a vehicle and it is not possible for him to stop, like a person is in the aeroplane and he is praying while sitting down, and there is no possibility of him praying standing for example, then we say this is hurmatul waqt. This is a prayer that is called hurmatul waqt, and in the madhab of Imam Shafi'i, it is compulsory that he make up for that prayer. Although we have some opinions that says that it is not compulsory, But the prevailing judgment and qawl al-mu'taman in our madhab, when comes into the fard prayers, it is compulsory that he make up when he reach land. These are some of the questions that normally people ask. Likewise, if you are praying on a bus, if you are praying on a bus and you cannot perform your ruku and sujud properly, you are sitting down because of some reason, and you cannot go down the bus or something, or you then it carries the same ruling that you have to perform your prayers and you have to make up for the prayer. So now we go on to where we are. The author mentioned وَإِنْ كَانَ مَاشِيًا. وَإِنْ كَانَ مَاشِيًا. This is the third situation. First situation is riding. Second situation, on a vehicle where he can perform prayers. Third situation is when he is walking. If he is walking, it is compulsory for him to face the qiblah in a few situations. Number one, he said, وَإِنْ كَانَ مَاشِيًا إِسْتَقْبَلَ فِي الْإِحْرَامِ وَالرُّكُوعِ وَالسُّجُودِ وَالْجُلُوسِ بَيْنَ السَّجْدَتَيْنِ. So there are four places now. It is compulsory for him to face the qiblah when he is in ihram, takbir al-ihram. Number two, when he is doing the ruku'. Number three, when he is doing the sujud and sitting down in between two sujud. So for example, a person he is walking and he wants to pray the sunnah prayers, and he is a musafir. Here all we are speaking about musafir, not a mukim or mustawtin. And when you are in your country, you cannot do all this. But if you are musafir, even though safar, that is qasir, that is a short form of traveling, less than 2 marhala, but you have gone abroad, you have left your homeland. For example, in our case, like in Singapore, for example, we have crossed over to Malaysia. We are a musafir, so we can perform the sunnah prayers in our vehicles, no problem. Now, no need to face the qiblah. What is compulsory is when we perform the takbir al-ihram. This is in the case we are in the vehicle. But in the case when we are walking, so we only face the qiblah in the four situations, or the four places. So number one is the takbir al-ihram. Number two is the ruku, sujud, and sitting down in between two sujud. So in between we can walk. So for example, you say Allahu Akbar, face the qiblah, then while reciting Fatiha, while reciting the surah, we are just walking and we are going into the direction of our path. If the qiblah is on my right, my path is in front of me, so I walk. No problem. I don't face the qiblah. But when I want to do my ruku', then I have to stop and face the qiblah and do my ruku' and i'tidal, and then continue. And then when comes into the sujud, face qiblah. Sitting down to sujud. Then when it comes to the qiyam, I can walk. So I can read my Fatiha, I can make my surah. So when it comes into the ruku', I face the qiblah. So this is basically what the author is saying, the four places which is compulsory that he face the qiblah. And then he mentioned وَمَنْ صَلَّى فِي الْكَعْبَةِ وَاسْتَقْبَلَ مِنْ بِنَائِهَا وَمَنْ صَلَّى فِي الْكَعْبَةِ وَاسْتَقْبَلَ مِنْ بِنَائِهَا شَاخِصًا ثَابِتًا قَدْرَ ثُلُثَيْ ذِرَاعٍ صَحَّتْ صَلَاتُهُ. Now the author speaks about if a person prays inside the Kaaba. So he has completed and speaking about prayers for the musafir. What about a person who prays inside the Kaaba? How do you pray inside the Kaaba? So he said that if you pray inside the Kaaba, وَاسْتَقْبَلَ مِنْ بِنَائِهَا. So you should face any of the walls of the Kaaba. Any of the walls. So Kaaba is basically like a square, right? So there are 4 walls. So if you face any of the walls, your prayer will be valid. If you face any of the walls, your prayer will be valid. So it is possible that 4 person enters into the Kaaba, one person face one part of the wall, the other person face the other part of the wall, the other person face the other part of the wall, the other person face behind. All of them the prayers will be valid. So the ruling of praying inside the Kaaba differs from praying outside the Kaaba. Outside the Kaaba, we speak about facing the Kaaba. And the minimum for the wall is that it must be more than it must be at least 2/3 of an arm's length. 2/3 of an arm's length. So it is about 100 centimeter. It is about arms length, and it is 2/3, and it is like this. This is arms length from the top any of my fingers, and this is 1 zira. So sulusai meaning 2/3. So it's about any from here to here. So the minimum requirement for the wall any of the Kaaba, yani it must be 2/3 any of arm's length. 2/3 of arm's length. So this can be understood, and if the door of the Kaaba is open. Imagine you are inside the Kaaba and the door of the Kaaba is open. If you perform any of your prayers and you are not facing anything, any walls, if the door is open, your prayer is not valid. But if at the part any of the door, for example, there is a short wall, for example, it must be more than 2/3 any of the zira. Then only what you call it, your prayer will be valid. It's about 45 centimeters, if not mistaken. It's about 45 centimeters. Aywa. Likewise, if a person prays on top any of the Kaaba, if a person prays any on top of the Kaaba, he must face the wall, and the condition in it is that it must be at least any 2/3 any of an arm's length. But it's makruh to pray on top any of the Kaaba. It is a sunnah to pray inside the Kaaba, but it is not a sunnah to pray on top of the Kaaba, out of respect any of the Kaaba. This is mentioned by Imam Nawawi, for example, in Minhaj. And then he mentioned, وَمَنْ أَمْكَنَهُ مُشَاهَدَتُهَا لَمْ يُقَلِّدْ. And if a person is able to see the Kaaba for himself, and imagine you are in Mecca, and the Kaaba is in front of you. So you cannot follow somebody else. You cannot follow somebody else in his ijtihad. Because why? This is yaqeen. You are seeing the Kaaba, then you must face the Kaaba. You cannot follow someone facing any other directions other than the Kaaba, because your prayer will not be valid. So you cannot do taqlid, because now there is no room for ijtihad. This becomes yaqeen that you are seeing the Kaaba. This is in the case if you are in Makkah. فَإِنْ عَجَزَ, if he is unable to witness the Kaaba, for example like us, for example in Singapore, in places that you cannot see the Kaaba, he said أَخَذَ بِقَوْلِ ثِقَةٍ يُخْبِرُ عَنْ عِلْمٍ. So we can depend on the reports of a person who is knowledgeable and trusted. So if a person says, for example, we are traveling, you go to a particular place, you go to Europe, and if, for example, you do not know where's the qiblah, and then you met some Muslims who are living there, and they tell you, okay, the qiblah is there, and you see this person, mashallah, and is performing prayers, can be trusted. Tamam? You can depend on what he says, and you face the qiblah that he mentioned, your prayer will become valid. This is different because you are not seeing the Kaaba, correct or not? So you are depending on his knowledge, on he is a person who can be trusted. Then your prayer will be valid. فَإِنْ فُقِدَ اجْتَهَدَ بِالدَّلَائِلِ. If he cannot find anyone, then he does ijtihad. What is ijtihad? And he put in efforts to find the results. So if you are in a place and you do not know where is the qibla, then you should find the direction of the qibla to your best ability, with all the signs of finding the direction of the qibla. Nowadays it is easy. We have our application, and alhamdulillah the applications that we have, mashallah, is something that we can depend on. And so many applications, for example, they have this live map. They have live map, so the accuracy is amazing. So we can depend on such applications. Before 20 years ago, before this the coming of all these Android phones and so on, smartphones, people depend on compass. Whenever a person goes abroad, usually they will bring a compass. Last time people used to sell sajada with compass. So we use compass. Sometimes some people use for example the stars when they are in the sea. And likewise when it comes to the sun, to the setting of the sun, where does the sun set, in order for us to see where is the west, and then we can gauge where is the Kaaba and where is Makkah. But nowadays mashallah, when we speak about ijtihad, mashallah, everybody can do ijtihad, and you just need to download the application. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. But last time our scholars mentioned a few ways of ijtihad. what you call it, ways any of ijtihad, yani, like looking any at the stars. That's what I mentioned. Yani, looking any at the shade any of the sun and so on and so forth. So he said bidala'il, yani with proofs. فَإِنْ عَجَزَ لِعَمَاهُ, yani if a person is blind, in unable any to do ijtihad, أو عمي بصيرته قلد ثقة عارفا, or yani he is unable any to see, he is unable any to see, or he is unable any to make any ijtihad, he is unable any to make any ijtihad, then he follows the person yani who is able to do ijtihad. For example, yani if a blind man is traveling, for example, or in a place, and then he doesn't know where is the qiblah, so his friend, and for example, and he can find out where is the qiblah and just direct him, okay, go here and go there, so he can any perform, he can follow any that direction, because any he is unable any to find the qiblah. Wa in tahayyara salla kayfa sha. But what happens any if a person yani cannot find the qiblah at all, he does not know, yani he becomes confused, he becomes any confused, uncertain, he shak, doubts, he do not know, he do not know where is the qiblah yani at all. So the author yani mentions salla kayfa sha'a wa yaqdi, so he pray whichever direction yani he wants, and then he has to make up for the prayer. Wa yajtahidu li kulli fardin, so he has to make up any the prayer. Why? Because any he does not any perform the proper ijtihad, and he is praying any in doubt. Prayer is still wajib any for him, but it's wajib for him also to make up the prayer. Wa yajtahidu li kulli fardin, and he does any ijtihad for every fard yani prayers. Yani this is any in a situation where a person yani is going any from one place to another. For example, in Zohor, he is traveling in what particular city, and then Asr is praying in another city. So in Asr, when he wants to pray the Asr prayers, and he has to do another ijtihad, because now he's in different places. But if he is in the same place, any no problem, he follows any the same direction on the first ijtihad. فَإِن تَيَقَّنَ الْخَطَأَ فِيهَا أَوْ بَعْدَهَا إِسْتَأْنَفَهَا. If he comes any to a certainty that his ijtihad any is wrong. For example, I make ijtihad that the qibla is in front of me, but then it becomes clear to me that this is wrong. Somebody any who's live any in that place any for many years show me any the application or the compass or something, say that all people any in this particular place face this direction, you are praying this direction, so your prayer yani is wrong. What happens? Our prayer will not be valid. If it becomes yaqeen, based on certitude and certainty, your prayer yani will not be valid. Ista'nafaha, the author yani mentioned, whether you are in prayer, if you are in prayer, you have to make your prayer invalid and batal in your prayers, yani go out of your prayers. And after your prayers, and you have to pray again. You have to pray again. So let me explain this thing any further, because some people are confused when it comes to this. You see what happens sometimes when people pray and they face the qibla wrongly. Imagine and you have guests come to your house, and they perform their prayers without asking you where is the qibla. They thought the qibla, and you put the sujada for example wrongly or something, and then they started praying, and then they are praying at the opposite direction, and you know that this is the wrong direction that they are praying. So what you should do, you see the mistake some people did was just to turn the body around. No, in the first instance, and we have to understand his prayer is not valid. His prayer is not valid, meaning he has to break his prayer. No need for you to turn him. You just have to tell him that he is praying in the wrong direction. He has to pray again from the beginning. So that prayer is not valid. Tamam. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. Now, then he mentioned wa in taghayyara ijtihaduhu amila bithani. If a person for example does the first ijtihad, he said the qibla is in front of me, and then he changed his ijtihad. He said no, actually I look up again, actually the qibla is there. Taib. Then the second prayer he performs prayers facing this qibla. So both prayers are valid as long as he does not come to a certainty. This is based on the principle in fiqh, al-ijtihad la yanqudu bil ijtihad, that a particular ijtihad is not invalidated by another ijtihad, because ijtihad are based on dhann. It is based on non-certainty. Unless if it is based on certainty, then the first prayer will not be valid. But if it is based on ijtihad, first prayer is valid, second prayer is also is also valid. So this is what the author any mentioned. If he changed any his ijtihad, amila bithani, he performed any the prayers any with the second ijtihad, fima yustaqbalu wala qada'a lil awwal, and no need for him to make up for the first prayer that he prays in the different direction. طيب. So now any we have finished speaking any about the condition, the ninth any condition that is facing the qiblah. Then the author any speaks any about the 10th any condition. So he mentioned what tarkul kalam fatabtulu binutqin biharfaini. So it is compulsory any that we what you call it, to leave any speech, any not to speak any in prayers. And speaking in prayers any will break any our prayers, will make our prayers any invalid. Binutqin biharfaini aw harfin mufhim, either yani with two letters even without meanings, or with one letter with meaning, like the letter qi. Yani we have in the Arabic language letter qi, li, this carry meaning. Qi from wiqaya, waqaya qi, qi fi'l amr, tamam. So this is one letter, but if a person and he pray and he purposely say qi, the prayer becomes invalid even though one letter. Why? Because it carries any meaning. Or two letters without meaning, say fa, yani lengthening, fa and alif, two letters, the prayer yani becomes any invalid. Sometimes any the mistake any people do when a person and is praying someone and he wants to walk in front of him. So what did he say? Ahem. And he's trying to tell him and you don't walk in front of me. The prayer becomes invalid. Why? Ahem. How many letters? 3 letters. Alif, ha, mim. So even though there is no meaning any of these words, but because it is more, it is 2 letters and more, the prayer yani become invalidated. This is if a person purposely, intentionally. If a person does it unintentionally, inshallah next week we will speak about that. How many letters any are forgiven, how many words any are forgiven, and so on and so forth. So inshallah we will stop here because any of time, and we will continue next week. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with tawfiq and istiqama, amin ya rabbal alamin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.